Joining us now is Ron Hosko, a former assistant FBI director, and CBS News justice reporter Paula Reid. And Ron, let's start with you. First off, the Russia thing has really dominated for the most part this hearing. How do you think Mr. Wray has handled those questions thus far?
Appropriately. I think he has been appropriately circumspect. This is a nominee to the position, so he has not been briefed in on the details of the investigation to date. I heard at least one of the senators was reading emails from yesterday. Mr. Wray said he had not had time to read it, evaluate it, consider it, because he's going through this nomination process himself and just simply hadn't had the time. So,
and you believe that you were okay with that answer?
Oh, I think so. I mean, I think this is an intensive process for him. Mm-hmm. One of the things that this hearing, I think, is effectively exposing is the breadth of work of the FBI. And for him to really have his mind focused on all of those important things where the FBI has a big role, that's a lot to learn in a relatively short period of time, or to relearn in his case. So I think he has to be circumspect. If he's a person that's going to be driven by the facts and the law, I think it would be way out of bounds for him to be tossing out opinions today, prosecutive opinions, or on the weight of a particular piece of evidence without knowing the full boundaries of it. So I think he is being appropriately reserved, and I don't think he's hurting himself by doing that.
Paula, Wray, of course, even though this has been a relatively standard testimony, not a lot of fireworks, not a lot of surprises, and what seems to be a bipartisan moment, I think we should step back from him and just appreciate the cloud of controversy in which this man is testifying before the Senate Judiciary Committee. How has he handled these questions about Comey and the fact that the last FBI director was fired because of what the president himself called the Russia thing, what Comey himself believes was because he was heading up this Russia investigation?
The most important thing for him today was to establish that, yes, he will run the FBI independent of the White House. And he made it clear that is what he will do. He said, in fact, he would resign before improperly dropping an investigation. This was a theme throughout the hearing. He said this in his opening statement. He was asked about it, and he was crystal clear that he will operate this without fear or favor in an independent manner. But it's also interesting you mentioned Comey. He was asked to comment on some of the things that former FBI Director Comey did, including his handling of the Clinton server investigation. And this was an interesting moment because Wray specifically said that, yes, the former FBI director broke with precedent and that he would not have done the same thing. That is significant because the handling of the Hillary Clinton email investigation is the first reason that the White House gave for why FBI Director Comey was fired. Now, Wray was also asked whether or not he would have given a loyalty pledge, whether or not he was asked to give one. He said no, even if he was, he wouldn't have given it. So it was interesting to see him establish his independence, and he gave a lot of answers that support the president and that support his version of these events. Now, two aspects in which he broke with the president is that, one, he does not believe the Russia investigation is a witch hunt, and he also does agree, based on what he's read so far, with the assessment that, yes, Russia did interfere in the 2016 election.
Just to be clear, when Comey was fired, Paula, the FBI and Comey himself was sort of overseeing that investigation. And now that former FBI Director Mueller is in charge as special counsel, does that take that completely out of Wray's hands?
Yes, to an extent. I mean, he still needs to give him resources. Mueller is using FBI agents. He relies on the Justice Department to get his money for his budget. So he has a very arm's length relationship with Mueller. But he was asked repeatedly, he said, how will you support him? And Wray said that he'll make sure that he gets all the resources. If there was anyone trying to interfere, he would take the appropriate steps. And it's very interesting that he said when Rod Rosenstein first spoke with him about taking this job, Rosenstein acknowledged the fact that now the Russia probe is with Mueller, with a special counsel, which makes the landscape of this job, which is always complicated in any circumstance, but it made it a little bit easier here. Sort of a tacit admission of the very difficult circumstances that Wray is walking into.
Ron, I want to bring you back into the conversation because I kept thinking as I was watching this testimony about the hundreds of people that are serving in the FBI and have felt probably pretty demoralized and rudderless after the amount of news coverage and the events that happened since June. Do you believe that Wray will be able to instill confidence in FBI agents, that he is the person that will be able to bring that agency back up to feeling like a cohesive, credible organization?
You know, at face value, I think he is. He has been today, and by reputation, seems to be very low key. That would be, you know, kind of a bit of a shift from Jim Comey or from Bob Mueller, for that matter. And so it's going to have to evolve over time. But I think with his stated independence, with his apparent intellect, his apparent experience, the wealth of people, quality people who are supporting his nomination, I don't see any reason why clear-minded independent senators would not support the nomination, given what we've heard today. And I think the FBI workforce would embrace him. I do think they are looking for stability. They are looking to pull themselves out of this public limelight that is so intertwined with politics. It's not where they want to be. So I think they're looking for solid leadership going forward, and they will embrace him.
Paula, where does the process go from here?
Well, his nomination will be put up for a vote. I mean, it is expected that he will be confirmed. Most of the controversy that came up today, he was able to really handle pretty appropriately. Check all the boxes. Are you independent? Yes. Do you think Russia's an adversary? Well, kinda. Handled that pretty well. And then also talking about, you know, his relationship with the president. Was he asked for a loyalty pledge? No, he was not. Even if he was, he wouldn't have given it. So I don't think there's anything here that happened in this hearing that would derail his hearing. Excuse me, his confirmation.
Ron Hosko and Paula Reid, thank you so much.